أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to BAMBAR's third annual Dhul-Hijjah programming. Tonight is our third interview with BAMBARs who are born and raised Muslims. And inshallah, we have special guests, Intisar Bashir and Rashid Mahdi, mashallah. And we also have our host and co-host for the night. We have Dr.Muslimah Ali. Assalamu alaikum. And we have Sumayah Hargette, Dr. Sumayah Hargette, mashallah. And tonight, we're going to get into a little bit about Rashid and Intisar's journey. They made Hajj, mashallah. So we're going to get into it a little bit about their experience making Hajj. So without further delay, inshallah, we are going to pass it over to Muslimah.
All right. Assalamu alaikum once again. Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, June 22nd. And the 4th of Dhul-Hijjah, alhamdulillah, we've made it to this blessed month. Maybe some of us know people who are on their way to Hajj are already over there, and we make dua for them. I am Dr. Muslimah Ali. I am a trained anatomist and neuroscientist, and alhamdulillah, I also had the joy of performing the Hajj in 2008. And I am a member, a Black American Muslim born and raised. And I'd like to introduce my co-host.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sumayah Hargette, and I am a general surgeon and also a member of BAMBAR, Black American Muslims born and raised. And I want to welcome all of our online audience and remind everyone to like and follow BAMBAR and also Girls Gone Hajj. Facebook pages, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube channels. As Mukhtara already mentioned, our guests tonight are Rashid Mahdi and Intisar Bashir.
All right, so we're really excited to have this couple and family with us. We've said your names, so if you can give us a little bit more information about you all, your family background, how you all came, your families, because we understand that we're born and raised Muslims, but how did your families come into Islam?
Okay, assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Intisar. I am from Columbus, Ohio. My parents, I am third generation Muslim on my father's side and second on my mother's. Both my mother and my father came into Islam via the Nation of Islam. They both joined when they were teenagers. I think they were about 13. My father joined with his mother and his sister. So that's where the third generation come in. My grandmother was Muslim, and my mother joined with her sister when she was a teenager as well. And, you know, they made the transition in, what is it, 1975 or something like that when...
I need you to get that right, first of all.
Whatever. When, you know, when the Great Migration happened, let's call it that.
Mm-hmm.
So, alhamdulillah, and we're the parents of 4 BAMBARs. Yeah, I'll pass it to you.
All right. My name is Rashid. I am from Detroit, Michigan. Born in Inkster, raised in Detroit. My parents, well, my father was part of the nation, but then he converted to the Sunni Islam back in 1975. So I'm come from a pretty large family of 7 of us. I'm the 5th of 7 children. If you know anyone in Detroit, then you probably know the Mahdis, and so I'm a part of that family. Extremely proud of it. So yeah, as she said, I'm taking care of her 4 children. But yeah, that's all I got.
MashaAllah. So what year did you guys perform your Hajj and Umrah, and how old were you at the time?
2013 is we went. So it's coming up on our 10-year anniversary. I believe we went like end of September, October, beginning of October. Okay. When it hit during that time. So 10 years ago, I was 30.
And I was 31. So yeah, 2013. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
September, October sounds nice, not too hot.
Yeah,
It was a pretty good Hajj too. It was nice.
Alhamdulillah. It was a blessing.
Yeah.
All right. So at the time of performing Hajj, did you have a solid understanding of the 5 pillars and what you were getting into with Hajj?
I mean, definitely a solid understanding of the 5 pillars. Not necessarily Hajj, because Hajj is a different, like, you know what Hajj is, you know it's the pilgrimage, but there are a lot of different rites with regards to Hajj. I know we were fortunate. There's a sister out of Detroit, Sister Tamara, and she has a Hajj class. She is always going. So she actually provided us with some of the information, some of the things that we should, be prepared for. So we had sheets that we laminated. We prepared ourselves for we did our best to prepare. And also the group that we went, they also had like a Hajj seminar prior to us leaving, just to give us a little bit of background about the Hajj. But I will say, even with all that information, you never really know what to expect until you get there, and some of the things that you're going to be doing. So, but yeah.
Absolutely. It's definitely one of those, you can read about it and you can, watch videos, but until you experience it, and it's hard sometimes to explain to people, like, yeah, we could talk about Tawaf and Sa'i all day long.
Right.
But you're there, and even with the luxury packages, you're still going to have some trials and tribulations there. Definitely. So it sounds that you said that the sister has an ongoing Hajj class. So are there several people who have performed Hajj and Umrah in your community where you live?
So we are part of the WD community. Well, yeah, and we're part of the WD community. And that's always been something that's been pushed. So I know my parents performed Hajj maybe back in 97 or 98. I think her father went 2 times.
Yeah, he first went in 92 by himself, and then he went back in 97, and he took my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, and my uncle. They all went, and alhamdulillah, they all were able to go both times. Well, the second time when the whole family went, they went with Brother Yusuf Waziruddin out of Atlanta. So alhamdulillah, they were able to go with them. And I believe the first time my father went by himself, it was with Brother Ghani out of Philadelphia.
Okay.
Excellent. Excellent. I do want to ask a follow-up question a little bit. At the time that you all went, because when my husband and I went, we were about the same age. He actually turned 30 when we were in Medina, taking a little hiatus from Mecca at the time. And I was 28 when we went. Did you find that you all were some of the younger people among either your group or just in general? Did you see a lot of young people at the time?
Our group, I mean, there was a decent amount of individuals our age.
Yes, because remember the group from the Tajani.
Yeah. So you had so the group that we went with was like, we went with Sarah International, huge group. So maybe like 500 different people.
It was
but it was a nice, I guess, array of different age groups, but there were some individuals our age there. So that was good for us, having other individuals our age that we can talk to and relate to.
And what I failed to mention thus far is that his sister Mahassan went with us. So she was one of my roommates. So alhamdulillah, that was like a true blessing for me, because she's a role model. She's a role model. She's like big sis to him and me. So alhamdulillah, she was a great example for me to have there with me, and go along the rites with.
Yeah.
Beautiful. My sister also went with us, and my husband's parents. So it was a few generations and family members, and very similar to your story. My father had gone and then went back, and he was supposed to take all of us, but I got married in between that time. So then of course I had to go with my husband. So yeah, it's beautiful when you can have an example in somebody who's been a little bit, even though the experience is still yours. But to me, that gave me an extra sense of comfort, because my husband had been as well prior to that. So it was comforting to know that somebody over there, somebody.
Right.
other than our guides, alhamdulillah.
Yeah. And I think the fact that our parents went, that was also like instilled in us that we need to go as well. Absolutely. So that was one of the good things. Hopefully our children, they have that itch to go when they get a little bit older. So
they actually do.
Yeah.
Our 10-year, well, she's 11 now. She told us before her 10th birthday, she wanted to go when she turned 10, and she wants to go back every 10 years.
Okay.
Inshallah. Like, that's all I can say. If it's the will of Allah, we can make it happen. It hasn't happened thus far, but that is a goal of hers. So I think that's pretty cool, because that was not on my mind when I was 10.
Alhamdulillah.
So that's actually a perfect segue to my question, which is, growing up Muslim, we always learn about the 5 pillars. We know Hajj is one of them. But when do you think you really got like serious about planning, like kind of around what stage or what age? Were you guys already married? Was it before marriage? Did you know you wanted to go as a couple?
Planning to make the Hajj?
Yeah, like when do you feel like that plan was sort of like kind of more serious, that you started planning to go, as opposed to just like looking at it as something of like a inshallah one day?
I think it was always on our mind, even like once we gotten married, but like due to the finances, it wasn't really anything that was a realistic goal at that point. But it's as our savings grew, alhamdulillah, I think we always, like, we started talking about it a lot more. And we talked about it years prior, but it seems like there was always something that prevented us from going. Like, she just keeps getting pregnant, it seems like. So
all by herself.
Right. Oh, that's what I'm saying, right? Okay.
But yeah, as far back as I can remember, it was it's definitely been a goal. For me personally, like, I've always wanted to, I guess when I got to the age of marriage, and like one of the catalysts for me wanting to go is because like my imperfections, so to speak. So knowing the things that I've done, like, some of the things that I've done in the past, like I wanted to go. I need to be cleansed of this. So,
yeah.
So that was probably, so I always wanted to go because of that, just to get cleansed from some of the things that I've done in the past.
And how long had you guys been married before you went?
Let's see, we got married in 2006. And we went in 2013, so 7 years.
Okay, mashallah.
Yeah.
It's a good cycle though, a 7-year cycle. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And so, like, to add more to like the planning of it, how I recall it, and what kind of like even pushed us more is like that year he was facing like layoffs. And it was like we had the money at that time. And so at that time we had 2 kids. 2013
we had
Nyla was like almost 3. Yasmin wasn't even 2.
She wasn't even 1.
No, she was like over 1 by the time we went.
When we went, but when we were planning,
she was like younger than 1. And so it was a lot of initial hesitancy for me to go because of the age. Like, I was still breastfeeding my youngest at that time, and I was like, I can't really leave her. But I remember specifically we was having a conversation. We were at like Uno's Pizza. Like, we was there. We was at Uno's Pizza. And I was like, I don't know, like, should I go? Because he was like, I'm going. Like,
so
you can come if you want to, but I'm going. And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, is that right? Like, doesn't she still have rights over me? Blah, 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 blah. But he was also, the way he said it to me was that at this point in time, we have the money to go. So it's almost incumbent on us to go. If the invitation is like extended to us, it's incumbent on us to go right now while we have this money, because we don't know what the future will hold. And so that really like sat with me. Like, it helped me get over like the mom guilt of like leaving my 1-year-old and my 3-year-old behind for, 2 to 3 weeks or something like that. Yeah, it was at least 3 weeks because we broke it up, like different family watched the kids for like a week each. So alhamdulillah. So that is what really pushed us that year to make the commitment to go, because it was just like, we don't know if we gonna make it through these layoffs. I
forgot about the layoffs. So I was getting laid off in October, supposed to get laid off in October. So I'm like, cool, I ain't gonna have no job anyway. I might as well do it. But I had an interview with the same
YOLO.
In the interview, I told him, like in the interview, I was like, look, I'm gonna be gone for a month. So you can give me the job if you want to, but I want to be up front. Like when October hit, I'm leaving. I got other things I'm doing. So and I did get that job and I did not get laid off. So that was a blessing. And also our conversation that we were having, because I guess from a financial standpoint, I'm looking at it from, we're either going to spend $14,000, because at that time Hajj was about $7,000 a person. So it's either going to be $14,000 or $21,000, because I'm going this year, so that's $7,000. Either you come with me this year, 14, or I go this year, 7,000, and then I go another year with you, so that's another 14, so 21,000. So I guess looking at it from like that, I was like, oh, this is, and alhamdulillah, she decided to come as well, so that was a blessing. And while I'm on it, I should all, the Khatib in me wants to tell people, there's the devil tells us that there's never a good time to do anything, especially those big major events, but you just have to do it, because there's it's always going to be something going on. Somebody's going to be pregnant. It's always there's always a reason why we shouldn't do things, but you just gotta
Absolutely. I love that. I mean, the brother said, I got the invitation, sis. I'm going.
He was like, I'm going.
But again, I'm trying to get cleansed too. So I'm like, we got the money. I gotta go. Like, I ain't got no issue.
No, I fully understand. I failed to mention in the beginning. So I made the Hajj in 2018. And absolutely. We had a policy that we cannot take more than 2 weeks off consecutively. And I wrote up this very long letter about how they would be making an exception to that policy, because this is a religious obligation. And I would provide them with more information if they needed it. But, absolutely. And I can't imagine anyone's job could stand on that, and not allow for it.
And speaking of that, so my sister who went with us, she was a nurse. So a story that I always tell, because like my sister, alhamdulillah, all my sisters are amazing. But so she was a nurse, and we had planned on going. She spoke to her job. They said okay, and then maybe 3 weeks to a month before we were supposed to leave, she calls me, and I'm on the phone with her, and she was like, "Yeah, my job said I can't go. If I leave, they're gonna let me go." So I'm like, "What you gonna do?" Oh, she was like, "When I get back, I'll look for a new job." Like it was nothing like. I'm going to Hajj. So that's always I always like to share that story of my sister. I think it talks about tawakkul, when we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes you gotta do it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of it. And I think that they eventually ended up, she didn't lose her job or anything, things worked out. So
I think it's remarkable how the Hajj really begins from that intention. You had the desire, you had the intention, you had the money, and then Shaitan is like, look, what if I say this? What about your job? What about this? What about the baby? And all of these things that are very valid and reasons that we should consider. But then you're like, nope, Allah called me, and you really feel like this is the moment, this is the time to seize that opportunity and go. And then the things that Shaitan kind of threatened you with, loss of job, loss of this, didn't happen, and they kind of worked out the way that they were supposed to, because we're doing what Allah obligates us to do. And so that's a beautiful reminder, when we do what Allah obligates us to do, then Allah's got our backs always and our fronts. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. All right. So you talked a little bit about having the money, which is phenomenal and amazing, and I think that is something that a lot of people think about as being a little bit cost prohibitive. How easy or difficult was it for you to save and to be able to finance, however you finance Hajj?
So I'm pretty sure I was like working on the street selling my body. So money came easy to us.
Learn to not take him seriously. I don't know if you guys are aware.
That's why I wanted to make Hajj to get those sins off of me. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is what I've been dealing with for 17 years.
Mashallah. Mashallah.
I think me personally, I'm a saver. Like I'm a saver to this day. Like
she's the most frugal person I know. Like
we gonna inshallah, we gonna be all right because I'm thinking 5, 10 years and you know what I mean? So that just like we were 7 years into our marriage, alhamdulillah, and like we both worked. And so I was just able to like save and he was able to save. And it just like he said, like we had enough of like a nest egg that the pending like possibility of the layoff, I mean, where it was like a little bit scary. I always, and it's coming back to me now, like with the 7 years, like I always would think of like, what is it? The story of Prophet Yusuf, like in the 7 years. And it was just like, it all just was like, okay.
Yep.
Trusting a lot. Like we got this. He said he going, I might as well go. Alhamdulillah, we had the family in place to be able to look after our children because, you know, that's a concern as well. Like, like I said, we were gone for about 3 weeks. So the first week, my mom watched them. The second week, my sister flew in town and watched them. The third week, they went to Detroit with his family. So alhamdulillah, like our family was there to support us in this like endeavor. And it made it, even though it was still hard leaving them because they were like 3 and like 1.5. I want to say Yasmin was maybe like 16 months when we left. But it was like, all right, at that point in their life, they was with my mom when I was at work anyway. So it was like, it didn't really, like, they don't even fully remember us going because they were 1 and 3. You know what I mean? And to them, they was just chilling at grandma's house and, oh, my auntie's here. Oh, now I'm at my other grandma's house. So it was just like, all right. Whereas we getting a little choked up when they leave and they like, what are you doing? I was at grandma's house. Why are you like,
I'm sure that attachment with for them is actually pretty nice too.
Yeah.
So the Prophet ﷺ said, and I'm paraphrasing, that you really don't know a person until you travel with them. I'm sure you guys had traveled together before, but I think this is sort of the ultimate traveling. So what like new things or new discoveries did you make about each other during the Hajj or after the trip?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
I don't know either.
Other than she can sleep through turbulence.
Listen.
A blessing.
A blessing.
So when we flew into Mecca, and then from Mecca, we were in Mecca for like 5 days, and then we flew to Medina. Worst turbulence I've ever been on in my life. Like planes dropping, everyone screaming. She knocked out the whole time.
Sis was tired. Sis has a baby at home. She was like, "Ooh, I can sleep." Sis was tired.
But, I mean, we get off, we land, we get off. Everyone's like, "Alhamdulillah, yes."
I'm like, oh, that was a nice,
like,
nice nap. I had no idea.
Like I was sure I was gonna die. I was
no
like, okay, if I'm dying, you know, going to Medina, I'm good. It is what it is. But she knocked out. So but I think I probably knew that about her anyway, where when she gets on the plane, she's done.
And something about a plane, it's like you can't, everything is out of your control. You got a built-in white noise. Like sleep. Yeah, I'm gone before takeoff. So
I'm like that on planes too. I'm like, what can I do?
Right.
But yeah, I can't think of anything like
Me either.
from that particular.
Yeah, nothing between us. Like I said, my sister-in-law was one of my 3 roommates, and that was like the most time I had ever spent with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I really see it as like it was a blessing. Like she's an amazing woman. Like she really is an amazing woman. Like just to be able to like follow in her example while we were there. Like I like inshallah my Hajj was accepted, but like a lot of that I attribute to her. Like it was like seriously, like her example, like he said, she was a nurse. So she was like ready and willing to help any and everybody who might have had any ailments, you know, that were like within our group or otherwise. I remember like on the day of Arafat, right after like sunset, like subhanAllah, this sister, she passed away. I mean, like literally, like it's dark.
Right after Maghrib.
Right after Maghrib, she passed away.
Wow.
But she was there ready and willing to like resuscitate. You know what I mean? And so it was just like, wow. But also like about that sister, we were like, if that is not the best,
has to be the best time
for you to pass, like so, like, oh my goodness, like you completed your Hajj right after Arafat, and then you pass away. Like it was like, oh my goodness, like
I witnessed a death when I was on Hajj too. So I'm a little reserved, and I don't often tell everybody that I'm a physician, but you know, the word started to sort of sprinkle around. So people did start, you know, coming to me and asking me questions. You know, people were developing like diarrheal illnesses and
I don't even know you like that.
I'm trying to do my walk right now. Okay. I ain't trying to hear.
Might not be a whole lot I can do, but on Yom Arafah, there were people. So my Hajj was in August. So it was very, very hot. And there were people that were passing out and, you know, had ailments. They probably really shouldn't have been in the sun, but, you know, they really wanted that experience. And then a separate time we were traveling by car. And I think that a man maybe, I don't know, I think he may have been struck. And so we actually pulled over and I got out and, you know, kind of took like a brief little look at him. And I said, you know, mashallah, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So may Allah accept, you know, from them, and inshallah, that's a, you know, a blessed way to leave.
Yes.
That's the thing about how you never know you're gonna make it back. That was the biggest struggle for myself, because
leaving the kids.
When I left with the, like, in my mind, I'm never seeing my kids again. Like I thought I was gonna die, or like, but it was like, gotta do it. So for me, that was probably the hardest thing. Just you know, going into it with the real, you know, with the thinking that you're not gonna see your loved ones anymore. So we did our will before we went. We, you know, life insurance is in order, so we made sure everything was good. But yeah.
And that's actually a really good segue into the next question about some of the things that you did to prepare kind of legally, and you all had children at the time. How did you prepare them? I know you kind of talked about how they were just like, going to grandma's, but can you talk a little bit more about how you prepared your will and made sure things were in place for if you didn't return?
We are super easy. I Googled an Islamic will. It was a fill in the blank joint, and we used that. And I left it with my mom, if I'm not mistaken. Like, here you go, mommy. Like, kind of weird to give it to your mom, but like, if necessary, here is our wishes. So.
Yeah.
So we had the will, but we also had to figure out if something did happen to us, who the kids would go to. So she thinks her family better than mine.
It's facts, though. It's facts.
I love my in-law.
Right.
So I think that was probably the biggest contention that we had, to try to figure out who it would be, who they would go to. But after we decided on that, it was like, okay, cool. So when it comes to preparing, that's what we did. But then as far as the Hajj preparations and who we're going to go with the Hajj, I guess that's a different story altogether. But you know, when it comes to our kids, we made sure we had a will. We made sure everything was in the will. Yeah, I think that's, you know, when we say we easy, we really easy. Like, yeah.
MashaAllah. What advice would you give to other married couples who are considering performing Hajj together?
If you can, just do it. Like he said, we overthink things. We complicate things. Like, if you are able-bodied and you have the money, go. Because like, tomorrow's not promised. And if, like, the way he presented to me, like, I don't know, I'm assuming like that's like facts, but like, if you are able-bodied and you have the money, then it's incumbent on you to go. And so, like, one of the things that, like, we like to take trips. We like to take trips as a family, and we like to take trips as a couple. And like,
she likes to take trips as a family. Let me say that.
He likes to take trips.
I just say just the two of us, little kids.
When you say family, are you talking about with the kids, or you mean like extended family?
No, he mean the kids. He don't be wanting to take them kids nowhere, bro. Like,
oh, we can stay in the U.S. with the kids, but then us, we go other places.
Yeah. But anyway, we like to travel. I'm not sure how many places we had really traveled to at that point. Not that many, but a lot of it was because of like a guilt that was over us. Like, we can't be out here like splurging on nice little vacations and stuff like that when we have this thing hanging over our head that, like, as a Muslim, like, if you say you spend like, I don't know, $2,000 on every trip that you take, and you taking a trip once a year, you could be saving that, and within a few years you have the money necessary to, you know, put towards your Hajj. And so I think that was one of the things that also encouraged us to do it earlier in our marriage than not, is that we knew we wanted to travel other places, but we wanted to do it kind of like guilt-free without feeling like we're neglecting a responsibility that we have as Muslims. So
So I guess that would be the advice. So just plan to do it, even if you take another trip, to at least put some money away for Hajj. I mean, that's the most important thing. So definitely
make your
plan.
intentions. Like, don't just him and haw. Like, seriously, make your intentions, because once you do that, like, Allah will provide.
Yeah. And as a husband, I'm pretty sure it's a little bit different, like going with your wife, because you're always concerned about like her well-being and things. So I'm curious to see, or to hear from people that went by themselves, to see how their Hajj was, because again, you do have that responsibility to make sure that you're taking care of your wife. And like I was also the mahram to my sister, so I had that in the back of my head. It's interesting though, I don't even think we did most of our stuff together, it seems like when it comes to tawafs, because normally, the tawaf start off, the brother's supposed to, the first three go around, you're supposed to like pick it up a little bit. So we get there, all right, assalamu alaikum, I'll see y'all later. So I'm off and I'm running the first three. So, and then eventually we meet back up at night or something. But just having that over you, because you're always thinking about making sure that they're okay. I like, even during like the Hajjat and like Fajr, and like it gets real in the harm. So just thinking about them, thinking that, hoping that they're okay. I guess it's a little bit of what you had.
Inshallah, there's some extra ajr for you for doing it.
Yes. Okay. So how you all did it, having children, that's the way that it happened. Would you advise couples to try to go before? It seems like y'all had a really good support system at the time. We didn't have children. That was kind of one of my bullet points in our marriage contract, that I wanted to finish school and then go on Hajj before we started having children, because I did think that it would be a lot easier. And alhamdulillah, we were able to do that. So do you advise people, what are the pros and cons maybe of going with children, or would you advise couples to go before?
It probably would definitely be easier before. Like, it's less of less weighing on you. You know what I mean? Like, just not even their safety or anything like that, because alhamdulillah, I'd imagine if you're gonna be gone for 3 weeks, they with somebody you trust. But just like, those are your babies, like, you know, like 3 weeks is a long time to be away from, like, some babies. And so it's just like, it would be one less thing, one less distraction, really. Because, you know, we would, I don't know how much talking a 1 and a 3-year-old would do, but we would call them like maybe every day, every other day, something like that. And I mean,
I couldn't talk to him though. Like, I would tear up. So I couldn't talk to him.
So it probably would be less of a distraction, less of a worry on your mind if you are able to do it before you have children. But also don't let that be a deterrent for you. Like, don't let that be like, well, I gotta wait until they, you know, a certain age and I feel comfortable leaving them. Like, definitely don't let that be a deterrent for you, because
my advice would be go whenever you can go. If you can go before, like whenever you have the means to go, then go. If it's before you have kids, cool. If it's after you have kids, cool. But whenever you can go, and just go.
In our Hajj group, there were three babies. One was like a few months, and then the other 2 might have been closer to a year, maybe a little bit over a year, but there were 3 babies. And so they had all the group aunties.
Yeah. There was a couple youngins.
That's crazy. Like, I can't even imagine that. Like, legit. It was, I remember it was a little boy. His name was Muhammad, and he was 5. Most adorable little thing, so well behaved. But I was like, I could never.
But we also have friends like Mariam and her family. They took their whole family, right?
But they wasn't Hajj. They do Umrah like every year, no?
Maybe. But I thought we did Hajj too.
It's very different. It's very different.
Like, I'm sure it's a whole nother different experience. It's like a whole other different jihads you having to overcome if you bring your children with you. Like,
because like I could leave her with my sister and they'd be good, but with the kids, they'd have to be wrapped around me, and so that would be.
Yeah, Intisar, that's exactly what popped into my mind. That it's like part of your jihad. Yeah, and obviously
it's a different level
behind was also, you know, a jihad too. You know, missing them and being concerned about them. And, you know, they say everyone has their jihad while they're on Hajj. So, alhamdulillah.
That's true.
So how did you guys come to decide on a group, a tour guide, a group to travel with?
We went through a couple. But no, it was not.
It's how it was planned.
Yeah, a lot. Go ahead.
When we first started.
A couple before you chose one?
Yeah, so one of the things she really wanted to do was go with like African Americans.
Okay.
Me, just get me to Hajj. I don't care about who I go with. But I know like that would help her.
Specifically, Brother Yusuf,
because friends of the family.
And he was an amazing man. Yes. Like, he was an amazing man.
He passed away before we went. And I think they still had the group, but it was like the luxury group. It was more than
it was in flux. So like we literally, like, I called Brother Yusuf. Like, we was going with Brother Yusuf. Like, we was going with Hajj Mushardeen. Like, it was no question about it. Like, we were going. I called him when he was, I forget where he was, where he contracted malaria. Wherever country he was in, he was there when I called him. I think I talked to him once upon his return. Shortly after that, he passed away.
Mm.
Like, I was like, you know what I mean? But, and then Brother Dewan ended up taking, because they had already, you know, plans was already in the works. So people had already signed on to him. Brother Dewan, like, hadn't been doing the Hajj for a few years. I think it was mainly Brother Yusuf that was doing it, but like he stepped up, you know what I mean? Because he's part of the Muslim group also. And then we had reached out also to Hajj Pros.
We reached out to Hajj Pros, and we reached out to them again, but they never got back with us.
Oh, they did at one point, if I recall, but they only had 2 spots, and it was 3 of us.
Right.
See, I don't recall getting back to us. So we reached out to Hajj Pros.
I think it was after we had already signed, like, was like, okay, we'll go with Sarah.
No, because then we reached out to Brother Ghani from Philadelphia.
Oh, he didn't have enough.
That's who didn't have.
Oh, that's who didn't have enough.
We had enough. So we reached out to Brother Ghani, and we sent him the money. So $21,000 for me, my wife, and my sister. Boom. And we planning on going with Brother Ghani. And then maybe a month or 2 before Hajj, he hit us up and he was like, well, they were cutting back the number of visas that that US was given, which means he didn't have enough. And I think it was like, we would have to pay more. And I was like, well, I'm not trying to, like, I already gave, like, I'm not paying more, you know? So that's why we didn't go with Brother Ghani. And then we ended up going with Sarah International, which is a large group. And again, I want to say it's like 500 people. Someone asked in the group, like, how do you decide? Although it's 500 people, they broke it up into different, like.
They had a North America, like they had a US, they had a Canada group. And then even within those groups, they had leaders, like
they had groups
people of knowledge who led, like, broke off different groups. Because the year we went, there was a group inside of our Sarah International group that was being led by like
Sheikh Mahdi CC. He was part of that group. That's how that like Haji Hassan, he was in the group with. So it was there was all these little small groups within the group. But the good thing that I feel about going with the group that we went, and with them being so big, is that, you know, once you're over in Mecca, you can get lost or you can get out of place. But with Sarah, like, they had these little orange signs, and you would see them everywhere. So if you ever needed help with, you know, with anything, just find the orange sign, and you know, they could take you back to the tent, take you back to where you were staying.
Yeah, it was like younger-ish boys who were
helpers.
Local, like, you know what I mean? And they worked for them. And so they were literally there. I can't remember what the I don't remember his name, but it was one specific boy that, like, we was like,
we actually tried to, like,
we tried to bring him home.
We did. He was amazing. He was
amazing. Like, we really was trying to, like, figure out how can we get him back.
Y'all try to kidnap somebody, child.
I think he was like, he was trying to get back
because
he was not, so nice, and he was like older. He was like a 16
Saudi native.
Yeah.
And so, like, parties he kept, like, he wasn't being treated. No, not the group, but like, you know, like living life over there.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't of their nationality.
Mm-hmm.
So he told us.
And she's like, well, we got dishes at home he could be doing. He could be mopping the floor.
No. It was
no,
really
but quiet is
like,
right. That happens.
Like,
we were just trying to help, like, facilitate however we can.
We were trying to figure out, like, how can we get him over here, because
so he was one of the sort of like staff, local staff. Okay, got you. And then you had multiple group leaders, because your group sounds like it was much bigger than mine. I think our group was maybe like 150 people or something. So and it was kind of sectioned off, but it sounds like you're saying you had staff and then levels of like tour guides and leaders.
It was a lot, but also I think they broke it down. So some people had the luxury package, so we didn't even see them.
Yeah, they was
only in Minna, right? the people who had the luxury package came over to Minna like, we're sleeping.
Like, oh, this is where you guys.
on these cards. What is this?
They had to socialize with the poors. Oh, they're
Right.
the poors. We are over here.
This is the ghetto. Right here.
So I guess it probably depends on like what you want. Like if you want a more intimate group, maybe go with like a smaller package. But if you want, like I speak highly of our group. To be honest with you.
No complaints at all. Again, like it was my intention. It was my desire to go with the Hajj Mushradeen group out of Atlanta, Georgia, because that's who my parents went with. That's the stories that I heard growing up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I graduated from W.D. Muhammad High School in Atlanta, Georgia. So it was like, they were there, you know, brother Yusuf and sister Edwina, like they were family, like, you know what I mean? They served us our food at our wedding, you know what I mean? So it was like, I don't know how, but brother Yusuf literally brought us our plates of food. Like that was not his job or nothing, but he brought us our plate of food at our wedding. And so it was just like, I always grew up like, nah, inshallah, one day I'm going to go with him. It didn't work out that way, but I also have no complaints with Sarah International. Like we had our really good friend's mother had went with them a few years prior to us, and she had nothing but good things to say about them. They were very well, Sister Khadija, they were very well organized, like really, really well organized. You know what I mean? Like they had everything a little more organized than we expected. Because I remember when we got over there, they gave you like SIM cards for your phone. We really fully grasped that, and we went and bought our own. But if we would have kept the one that they gave us, like I don't know if they were sending out like group texts, you know what I mean? Like they had everything like laid out and ready for us, you know what I mean? So alhamdulillah, I really don't have any complaints. It was the will of Allah that we went with them, and it was a blessing. Like everything was good.
Yeah. And to further answer Ryder's question, we had a WhatsApp group, because WhatsApp is something you can use like globally very easily. So we would use that to kind of coordinate and keep in touch with people while we were there. You know, even with the luxury packages, I mean, like, you know, I thought about it and it did seem like sort of nice, but there was something about roughing it that felt more authentic to me. And I just felt like, you know, the group that I went with, which was called Monastic, I felt like I was having an experience that was much closer to the Sunnah. And I just felt like they kept emphasizing, this is the way the Prophet ﷺ did it. We could do this, but we're going to do this because this is how he did it. So, you know, I think there's pros and cons to like the upgrade.
Yeah, to your point. So we went in 2013. So like the WhatsApp, and that was
I don't even think WhatsApp existed back then.
Okay. It does matter on like who you go with, and because again, it can be lush, depending on like what package. Even when we went to Arafat, because it blew my mind. We get off the buses, and Arafat it has palm trees, like wherever we were at, palm trees. It had grass, it had Wi-Fi, and we like this isn't what we had expected. So I remember because we took different buses. And you went with my sister. So I get off the bus after them, and I'm walking around. I see like her and my sister just sitting on a patch of dirt. Because they was like, this is kind of what we had envisioned when it comes to we didn't come here for the
in the AC.
So her and my sister was like, they found a little patch of dirt, and they were sitting there in the sun, just doing their du'as and whatnot.
Mashallah.
All right. So you said you went with your sister, Brother Rashid. Have all of you all's other siblings gone, or are you encouraging them to go, the rest of your family?
No one else, none of my siblings have gone to Hajj. I know it is on my sister's mind. She has made her intentions, but life keep lifing, and babies keep happening, so
inshallah.
So
and my siblings, no one. Let's see, my older sister, she made Umrah this past year. And I know my other sisters, they're like my other brothers and sisters, they want to. So inshallah, they're planning, and but you know, I don't necessarily encourage them, but they already know what it's about. They know the importance of it. So yeah, there's, you know,
and they're ready. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Just wanted to give you guys an opportunity if you did have any final thoughts that you wanted to share, and if not, that's fine. But was there anything else you wanted to convey to the audience before we conclude?
Mukhtara said they was in the AC tent.
In the AC, okay.
No, she asked.
We made our way to them tents too.
The whole day we wasn't out in the sun, but when we first got there, we was a little bit in shock. Like we weren't expecting this, so we were like, "We gonna rough it for a little bit." But we definitely went inside the tents to make some rakas, like multiple times. We just stepped out a couple times. You know, you gotta balance it a little bit. So
yeah.
I'm just saying,
due to the heat, I kept having to actually ask people to come in for a little while because we're not accustomed to that kind of heat.
Y'all went. I went in the dark ages,
so I don't feel like it was.
Dark ages.
Tents, AC.
Oh, you didn't have
right. So you went 2008.
Woo!
I know,
man, we were
when Sumayah said she went in 2018. It's probably a lot different than it was in 2013.
It was even bougier than it was when we
went. We were kind of like looking into the upgrade from the cheap seats to the expensive.
right.
And they were like chandeliers in the tent.
Yes.
What's going on here?
Yes.
So yes, it varies a lot from one group to another, like what your accommodations look like.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, because I feel like even going from tent to tent in Minna, you was like in the poor section, like tent to tent, it was like,
I don't know. Minna was like Minna. I don't know if there good tents in Minna.
Yeah.
Yes, there were.
It was like a whole
it was a whole different section. Yep. Yes.
I mean,
it was a whole different section.
I know but Minna.
Minna's rough.
It was different. We were surprised.
I can't remember who it is, but it was somebody I know, and they had to get the luxury package because they couldn't. The luxury package was a shorter amount of time they had to commit to.
Yeah.
And so I remember. I can't remember who that was.
Yeah.
Because
I feel like it was Dar Salam that I remember kept seeing everything be so luxurious.
They were like the neon green, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That's actually how I got into the Rauda with them, because it was such a, are we going to be able to go in? No, we're not letting anybody else in. And finally, I don't know, somebody knew somebody. They seemed like they had some kind of hookup, and they kept trying to push me to the African section. And I was like, I am American. I want to be with my people. So alhamdulillah, we finally made it in Medina.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Let me see if there's
any
other questions.
Amazing. Like to this day, I think I often, like when I see pictures, I'm like, oh man, like I remember that. Like it was just so
laid back,
serene, peaceful. Yeah. I just remember it was like, I want to say like the hotel that we stayed in Medina, like it low key was like kind of like it wasn't far from the masjid at all. And I just remember like being able to
in Medina?
No, in Medina. Like I don't feel like, I know it wasn't far in Mecca, but like it wasn't far. And I just remember being able to like get up, walk out, go to the masjid for my salats.
Yeah.
And it was just, I remember getting to the Rhoda, like me and Mahasin, and it was like, it was an older sister from Detroit, who was like in the community. And I remember it was like me, Mahasin, and somebody else in our group. And like, you know, I don't remember the name of it, the special space in the Rhoda that like when you pray there, it's like you praying in Jannah. So we like locked, because she wasn't disabled, but she had like ailments, you know what I mean? And it was an older sister. So we like locked arms and like let her get her raka in there. And I was
so she wouldn't get like pushed over. Yeah, because people get a little crazy in there.
They do. I remember multiple times we was like, we're not even gonna try it tonight.
I never felt more American than on Hajj. Like I was just like, oh.
Yeah,
no one here cares about lines or turn or
personal space. Woo, personal space.
Exactly. Somebody asked a question earlier about if you do tawaf together, like how do women end up getting, kind of pressed on and things like that. It's just the sheer amount of people,
the number of people.
That it's like it can be impossible for you to just have enough room, to maneuver. I guess that's how I would answer that question. I mean, we kind of made like a little train. So it was like husband, wife, husband. So that we didn't have like any stranger like in front or behind us. But I mean, even doing that, it just depends on the time of day and how many people are there when you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say the year that we went, what was it, like the year after the fire? It was a year after something. So the year that we went, it wasn't as many people as it normally is.
Okay.
Yeah, they pretty much, it was like half of the people due to they were limiting the number of visas because of it might have been like some bird flu or I think it was some sickness going around.
Yeah.
So I'm like when people, I know the year prior, like I had a friend go and he was telling me like, your farewell to watch took them like 8 hours. So I'm planning for that. Took us like 30, 45 minutes. Right. So it wasn't a lot of people, alhamdulillah. So that was it was.
So I'm sure that attributed to more of his comfort with not having to do like the tawafs like right by us. Okay. Because I remember multiple times it was like me, Mahasin, Fatimatu, and Fatu, like, and we was just, and then a couple of times like our other two roommates, they were West African, and they was gonna touch the black song, and Mahasin was like, no, we good. Like we, like, but she was like, I got you. And I was like, no, sis, like, I'm not like, I'm not trying to get in that because it's a whole nother different vibe that close. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
And I was just like, I want to go home.
So Brother Rashid, our group guy, when we were preparing, told us if you're traveling with a woman, do not try to touch the black stone. He said the single men, if you want to try, like do it. But if you have women with you, don't try to do it. That was the advice they gave us just because of the pushing and shoving.
And that's one of when we were talking, someone asked about experiences. So that's what I got from Hajj. It was like it was tough because to me, I'm looking at it from, I think it was a really good picture of like the state of the Ummah at that time or as it is right now. And a lot of people was like for themselves, essentially. So the most religious places is also probably going to be the most dangerous places. Like that's when people just don't care. So when you got the black stone, when you have the router, like when they open that door to the router, like it gets real. And so I remember like doing my tawafs and stuff. And what I appreciated about it, because sometimes we make these du'as and, it may not be as sincere, but when I was making tawafs, like I was really like, I'm bawling, I'm crying. Cause I'm like, I'm asking Allah, like, help us. Because right now, like we so for ourselves and not necessarily doing things, thinking about other people. And that's just, I think that was I guess kind of the theme of my thing. It was like, man, we not as good as we should be as Muslims. And it's like some things, I get it, we from America, so lines and things that make sense to us. But at the same time, I think people should know. Like people will make their tawafs, and then instead of just flanking out some, they turn around and go the complete opposite way and like in towards traffic. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, they're just pushing people. And, you know, I tell them, like, I've seen things that happened over in Hajj or over in Mecca that if it happened in Detroit, there would be so many dead people. Like, people would be shot based off of the way that we acted. So it's like, we got to do better. Like, we got to do better as a ummah. Like, we have to do better as Muslims. And like, for me, that was one of the things that I like, you know, my du'as were sincere. Like, when I was when I'm walking around my du'as, it was like, oh Allah, I'm having this conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it was like the most sincerest du'as I've probably had.
And do you feel like, if you don't mind sharing, if it's okay, do you feel like there's any specific du'a that you made on Hajj that you know was answered?
The only one that I can recall and know for a fact that it was answered was for a son.
Mashallah.
Because at that point we had 2 daughters. And so I prayed for a son. And alhamdulillah, he's 8 now. I also have a 2-year-old son, but I mean,
I prayed for a son too, so maybe that's why we got 2 more. I know, like, I always pray for us to make sure that you know, that our relationship is strengthened. So alhamdulillah, we still here, we still rocking. There were some du'as. I have my du'a book that I took there and that people wrote in here. So, and I was just going through some of them, and it was like, oh, okay, that one worked out. That one worked out. So alhamdulillah.
That I was thinking more so my du'as, but now, like, the one du'a that I remember that I got from somebody else, it was from my really good friend. She made a du'a, wrote out a du'a for her sister to get pregnant. Like, her sister had been married for years and she had never been able to have a child. And alhamdulillah, oh, she made it in yours too?
Yeah.
Like, so subhanAllah, like, I want to say, I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, she had finally resolved, like, come to terms with the fact that she wasn't going to have a child. So she put it into works to adopt a son from Morocco.
Okay.
She was not able to go get that son when it was time to go get him because she was pregnant and she couldn't travel.
Wow.
So Allah Ta'ala granted her a son through adoption and a daughter through birth. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, this was like, she had been married at least 10 years, if not more, and had not been able to conceive a child. And alhamdulillah, she now has 2.
And you said that was 2 or 3 years ago. So that was 7 years after your du'a, right?
Oh, subhanAllah, I never even like made that connection. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
I do want to ask, because I think it's kind of a pivotal moment. What were your first thoughts upon seeing the Kaaba, like seeing the Kaaba for the first time?
I don't know what my first thoughts were. I heard that the first time you see the Kaaba, whatever dua you make is going to be accepted. So I recall, like, driving up there, making sure I didn't look at it. Like, I wanted to, like, the Kaaba to be the first thing I saw when I entered in. I don't recall what dua I made.
That's why the women go to bed.
But I will say, sometimes I think about, because, you know, some people, they see the Kaaba for the first time, or when they touch the Kaaba, when they do, like, they just break down and cry. And I didn't get that feeling. Like, it was like, this is amazing, but I'm like, am I broke? So from that standpoint, I'm like,
no, seriously.
Like, and I touched the Kaaba, and some people, they touch it, and it's like, oh, and then they and alhamdulillah for them, but I'm like, to me, it was like, alhamdulillah, I touched the Kaaba. You know, I'm grateful for it. But same thing with the, you know, when I first saw the Kaaba, again, I made sure that I did not see it until it was like right in front of me, and then I made whatever dua I was going to make. So, but I don't know the feeling. I mean, I was just happy to be there. I remember getting off the plane because with our group, we actually went to Azazia first because they had apartments in Azazia. And then we also had a hotel room at the Haram. So we go to Azazia, and again, going to Hajj, I don't know what's going on. I'm thinking this is our hotel for our stay. People are upset, like, no, it's supposed to be 4 people in this room. So people are upset because of, I guess, the room. And I'm like, bro, I'm in Mecca right now. Like, I'm on cloud 9. I don't care what happens. As long as I get to the Kaaba, as long as I, do my rites, I'm good. And then eventually, after we were at Azazia we were there for maybe like a few hours until we finally went to the Haram. But again, I just remember making sure I didn't see the Kaaba until I saw the Kaaba. And then when I did see it, alhamdulillah, it was a great feeling, but it wasn't one of those like, let me just break down and start bawling. Because again, I'm maybe broke. I really don't know.
No, yeah, that was similar to my feeling as well, because I remember a sister, Shahida, I believe her name was, she wrote a book, and I believe it was, if I recall correctly, it was a pink book. It was for sisters, like a guide for sisters from Hajj, you know what I mean? And so I don't know if she had made Hajj like a few years prior to when we were going. And I feel like it was like documented in some kind of way. I don't know if it was leading up to, I don't know. Anyway, but I recall, I might be misremembering, but in my mind, she had an emotional reaction when she saw the Kaaba. So I'm expecting like, oh, I'm going to have this same thing. I don't know if it's okay to say, but it was a little anticlimactic for me when I was expecting that kind of reaction. And so I was really like, I ain't gonna lie, like when I first got back, I was kind of like, I didn't want to tell people how I felt when I first saw the Kaaba, because I thought I didn't like, I didn't have a big enough feeling. And so I was like, well, I should probably keep that to myself, because it's probably like, they're gonna like, what's wrong with you? Like, how could you not? Like, you know what I mean? So I was just like, I only told close friends, like, well, actually, girl, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? So
was there something else aside from that? I mean, I know the question we asked you, but was there some other moment that you felt kind of moved you a little more than that? Because I personally think that's fine. I don't think everyone has to react the same way.
I feel like you're looking at us a certain way right now, sister. I feel like you looking at us a little bit different now. I mean,
no, I was excited. Like, oh, it's magnificent, and to be there in the space, it was definitely humbling and extremely grateful. But I didn't have that emotional reaction about seeing the Kaaba. Wasn't trying to, like you said, we got to touch the Kaaba kind of like in an off-peak time. I think we went maybe a little bit before Tahajjud or something like that, when it wasn't super, super crowded. And it was nice to touch it, but it wasn't like the people who were falling out and clinging to it. The fly trap papers, I think, as Imam Suleiman would say, like people would just literally get to the side of Kaaba and just hug it and just stay there. And I don't know what they were trying to get out of that, but physical, things, or the people who were kind of the Jamra got really exciting for not our group, but the people who were just like, and I was like, whoa, like throwing shoes and just all kinds of objects were coming by, and it's just like, yo, like some pebbles, bro.
No, right. I was thinking, what is he gonna wear home now? He doesn't have any shoes.
Right. Some specifically for that. He had some shaitan. He was ready to pound them out. People can get really, really like excited about some of the physical things that I do think that sometimes, and I don't know if it's different communities, but I think from us being Americans and having to learn the religion as we do, there's not that over glorification or romanticizing of some of the things, and as opposed to trying to really kind of focus, like you were saying, Brother Rashid, like you wanted to go there because you wanted your spirit and your soul to be cleansed, you know. And I felt like that's when we went, that's what I wanted. We went we were married for 1 year when we went, and I was like, we're gonna set this marriage off right, like we gonna get this. Like I wanted it for that reason, and to really have the foundation for our family. So I think that sometimes just our approach can kind of make those instances that people kind of romanticize not be so awe-inspiring as people, and some people do. I'm not saying that they don't, but I wasn't, you know, that physical in that moment. Arafat was different, and making tawaf and making the dua and things like that, when I feel like I was having conversations with Allah over and over again, like that was different. But the initial sighting, I think that's a normal response.
For me, even like when it comes to like the epiphany or the, you know, that moment, because again, at the beginning of it, and I think it was because maybe what I was looking at, or again, I was just seeing a lot of stuff that hurt me as far as what we were doing as Muslims. So that really bothered me. And at it was at a tahajjud, and at Fajr, I'm crying, and I had to talk to like one of the leaders, and he was like, well, it's okay, just do this, say this. And he helped me, I guess, change my mindset. So instead of like looking at all the bad things, I say, you know what, I'm in this space where your good deeds are multiplied by, you know, however many. And I said that, okay, I'm about to try to get as many good deeds that I can. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I would just walk by random people. Assalamu alaikum. Anyone I saw, assalamu alaikum. Give me those. I need some blessings. So, you know, that's what changed it for me, I guess, my mindset of just trying to do as much as I can. And again, it was a blessing with going to make Hajj with my sister, because she's like a very helpful person. And I remember on Arafat, and one of the things, if you've never made Hajj or been to Umrah, what you realize is that there's a lot of trash. Like, you know, millions of people, there's going to be a lot of trash everywhere. And I remember after Arafat, when everyone's waiting for the buses to go to Muzdalifah, and we're waiting for hours, and I turn around, and my sister, she has a trash bag picking up trash. She's walking around picking up trash. So I said, okay, well, I'm about to get some of these blessings too. Let's go. So we're picking up trash. I'm picking up trash for the Hujjaj. We're gonna pick, you know. So at a certain point, I said, like, I'm here. I'm gonna try to get as much out of this, as many blessings as I can. So that was the moving moment for me, I think.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, embodying being a servant.
Yes. Yep.
So one comment from the audience. It's interesting that Black folks are not the ones that are not dying to touch the Kaaba. And they said the motto is "Don't be a hero." And I think, you know, I think that resonates with me. I think we are a little risk averse. We're like, you know, I'm trying to be safe. I'm trying to make it back home, you know.
It wasn't just, it was, I mean, if you touch alhamdulillah, but it's like, it's not, you don't have to.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm not about to fight someone to, you know, fight someone to get there and mess up my duties.
Yeah.
I was able to touch the Kaaba. And I got close to the black stone, but it was like, all right, I ain't make it. It is, you know.
Yeah.
We're
serious about our personal space. That's not our culture.
That's true.
To be up on people that we don't know.
I will say there was a time, so when I was making Tawaf and I was having a hard time, one of the leaders, he said, look, just go with the flow. Because sometimes when you make Tawafs, you got all these people around you. You're trying to like he said, just go with the flow. So I literally my body, I made it limp. Mm-hmm. It was the most peaceful thing. It was like, you see the schools of fish and they like just all moving toward, you know, that's how it felt to me. So I wasn't stiff. I just let it go. And, you know, it felt
and that's good because, you know, you don't want to be on Hajj and harm another Muslim, you know. Yeah. Someone asked, did the people return your salams?
Some did, but it was like, I'm getting blessings regardless. So they feel back. But I'm pretty sure most people did. It was a good experience.
Weren't waiting for a response necessarily.
No, I was just sound like them. They probably thought I was crazy, but it is what it is. But everyone at Hajj was pretty nice. So one of the cool things about it, like, even when you make prayers, you're sitting next to someone who you probably ain't never met. So I would just like spark up conversations with people. And I'm not even like a talkative, like I'm not friendly like that when it comes to talking to new people. Mm-hmm. I'm just, talking to people. Libya, they from here, and we just had these conversations. But that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. Wasn't that the most interesting thing too? Like when you're praying at the Kaaba, you could be praying next to someone of the opposite sex. That was so weird to me. I'm like, oh, there's a man. Okay. But it doesn't matter because there's no way to like separate, right?
Right. But then they would come and get people, which
they came and got me. I was so excited one day.
They got you for what?
They were like, sister, got to go back in.
I couldn't, like, oh, really? We were pretty close-ish to the Kaaba, like, considering. And, like, they had called the Iqama. I was like, oh, I'm about to be able to pray. Like, this man, he was like, you can't. I was like,
oh, really? That's interesting. That wasn't my experience.
But they were doing it to a lot of people, though.
So maybe that was part of your it not being so crowded, because I don't see how they could have even done that when I was
there. They would try, especially when sisters are close to the Kaaba, like you were. We would tend to go up. I like to be on the top, closer to the. But we like to be on that level, and we happened to see this other family almost at least 2 mornings in a row. And then on this other time, these brothers came, and like I said, it was me, my sister, my mother-in-law, my husband, my father-in-law, that's usually even within our group, if we went anywhere, that's who we went with. And they tried to tell us that we had to move back. Alhamdulillah, my husband, whoever the brother was, because they got, they can get disrespectful, let's just be honest. So he was like shooing us away. My husband knew Arabic. And so he was like talking to him and like, no, like this is the haram. The sisters can pray here. But we just had a front row seat to the Kaaba, and he wanted our space. And so eventually he kind of like, and I'm glad, that's one of the reasons you go with a mahram, because he was able to speak up for us, and we were able to, him and my father-in-law were able to shield us so that he wouldn't get physical with us, and we wouldn't, let it get to that point. But no, they tried. He tried. I can remember at least one time when he tried, and it was a very it was a tumultuous experience. Like we were on Hajj and we're Muslims, and like you're acting like this. Like I was very disappointed, just like very like.
Like I was literally excited.
I was crying. I can remember just being very upset by it. Like, how do you get here and this is how you act? Like I didn't. It wasn't clicking to me that you would come all this way and you're upset because a sister is sitting in front of you. That wasn't. It was wow. It was, yeah. Let's see. Do you deal with a lot of body odor on Hajj? Girl, it's a lot of smells. It is just embrace all.
Yeah. But especially during the Hajj, because you can't even you can't put deodorant it's the Hajj is different. Like
unscented.
Those 3 days, and when you pray, you hear people coughing up lungs and the Hajj cough is real. My roommates, this is in Medina, he was dying. He was going through some stuff. So I didn't even sleep in the room because I'm like, I don't want whatever you got. So I know one night I slept on top of them on the roof of the Prophet Masjid. But I mean, it's just it's gonna be body odor. You see stuff. You see body parts that you don't want to see. It's like, I mean,
see none of that. Oh my goodness.
Maybe men don't realize that they have on a skirt essentially.
Yeah.
In talking to our children about Hajj, our 6-year-old son, we were talking about it, and we were like, and we showing him his dad's ihram. He was like, yeah, this is what your dad wears. And he was like, wait, no underwear? And I was like, no underwear. And just today, and that was a week or 2 ago, and just today he was like, so mommy, he's very bothered, extremely bothered by this thing. So mommy, we're not going Hajj, when children go do children get to wear a pass, or it's just men? And I'm like, yes, son. Like, if you go, you could probably wear, but when you become a man, that's part of what you have to do. He's like, phew, and I need to go now because I just don't understand this. Would you see something? Right? Yes.
No, but yeah, you can't wear anything scented.
You can't wear anything scented. But we had got. It was like this little Hajj pack that we got, and everything was unscented. It was like unscented deodorant. It was maybe unscented lotion.
Yep.
Everything.
Everything was unscented.
But I remember the after Hajj, after, you know, we went to the Jamara, we stayed like when it was over, shaved the head, and I walked back to Azazia to the apartment that we had, and I took a shower, greatest shower I've ever taken in my life, and it was like symbolic of like all the dirt was just coming off.
Because that was after you had been in Minna and like, so it was just like everybody, because we walked back all the way from the Jamarat. We walked back all the way from the Jamarat. So people was like waiting on buses. We were like, no, we're gonna make this walk. So it was it was literally nobody in our apartment in Azazia.
Because we didn't go back to Minna.
We went back to Azazia. So it was literally the best shower ever. Like you just
we did the same thing.
Yeah. And I do want to circle back just quickly and to give a shameless plug. You all mentioned, because I'm seeing Raida's question again about men and women doing tawaf separately, because Brother Rashid, you're mentioning that you were separated from your wife, and I had a different experience. So it does definitely depend on who you go with. Alhamdulillah, we were able to go with Hajj Pros, who at the time was with Hajj Mushridun. So both the groups were kind of together, and the formation that we had was the brothers on the outside. It was another train, and then sisters were at least 2, but maybe 3 around as we went around Tawaf. And we just took our time. We didn't rush. We didn't try to get too close, not necessarily on the outskirts. And I think that, you know, keeping an open mind, I think that we do kind of get bogged down in things. And they're definitely real concerns, body odors and stuff like that. Like that's just part of the human experience. And even when you have the luxury packages, right, that's just for like certain parts of the hotels. There's going to be struggle. There's going to be jihad. Part of that is what you're having to overcome by going on Hajj, because fulfilling that 5th pillar is now and not to say that you're deficient if you're not, but you're acting on 100% of all the pillars. And it's preparing you for other things. Life doesn't become miraculously easy because you've gone on Hajj. Now you have 100% of the tools to help you to overcome trials and tribulations that can come your way. But there's going to be struggle. There's going to be strife. Everybody doesn't necessarily have to get, you know, bumped or things like that, especially the sister who was mentioned specifically, groping. Alhamdulillah, that was not my experience. But it does happen. I think, just to be fair, that it does happen and it has happened. And we can do the best we can do to be protected, to go with your mahram and do what you're supposed to do. Sometimes that helps to alleviate those types of things. But with going with Hajj Pros, that was our formation. And that thing that helped to keep the sisters that I went with at the time, a little bit more safe.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you got to realize, you know, millions of people. And the devil ain't locked up. Like, it ain't Ramadan.
Nope.
The devil is deviling. Try to get you. I mean, he got me when I was there, but it was, alhamdulillah, it wasn't during Hajj, but it was like before Hajj. And he made me lose my patience. And I'm not even a person that loses. I don't think I am. Right? So
say yes.
No, but there was a time he got me to lose my patience because we were going to we were in Medina sites, and we were doing the tour. And this is what I'm looking forward to. Like the whole thing, give me Medina, let me go to the different sites. But you know, I think I asked my sister and my wife, I'm like, y'all need to stay together because I don't, you know, I'm in charge. I mean, not in charge, but I'm the mahram. I need for y'all to always stick together. Don't leave one another. So we're about to get on these tour buses. I had to go back to the hotel and get something. I'm not sure if I was helping out, but I come back and she's by herself. I'm like, where's my Hassan at? She was like, she got on the bus with so-and-so. It was like an older sister who she was helping. But I was like, whoa, y'all supposed to stay together. So I'm heated, and the devil, I don't blame it on the devil. I blame it on myself for letting it get to me. But I'm like, y'all supposed to stay together. So the whole bus ride until we met up again, it's just boiling in me. Then I get off the bus and I'm like, I go at her like, and this is my big sister. And I'm like, you supposed to stay wearing, I don't care about this lady. So I lose my cool altogether. So he got me. And I feel bad because I know my sister was probably looking forward to the tour too. And even after this, yeah, she actually ended up getting back on the bus with us, and but inside it's like I just messed up this entire day. So the devil got me. So I mean, I still look back, and I actually want to go back to Hajj just to do it again, make sure I do it right, because hopefully that I'm not that doesn't mess up my Hajj, so to speak. But again, it was before the actual Hajj period, but still, it was I messed it up for me. I'm pretty sure I messed it up for my sister. I'm not sure it messed it up for my wife probably, but the devil, he ain't locked up. It ain't Ramadan. So he's gonna try to get you off your square. You just gotta be prepared for it.
No, I understand exactly what you mean. I was tolerating people pretty well until my sister-in-law was living in Saudi at the time. So she actually wasn't a pilgrim. She was just coming to see us. And she had her babies, and a man pushed her stroller. And I was like, no, like I had tolerated everything up until that. I was just like, there's a baby, I couldn't do it anymore. And I was like, oh no, I'm ruining my Hajj. Like, calm down, So I understand exactly what you mean. Something small can just build up, but inshallah, I'm sure your wife and your sister forgive you. Inshallah. I was thinking this though, and when we were talking about the odor, one of the things one of our group leaders shared with us that I thought was just amazing, that when you go to Mina, you're in these tents, everybody's eating. It's like, there's a couple of Western bathrooms. There's a lot of, the Eastern kind. It's a lot of people. There are no insects or rodents in that space.
That's true.
Even though it is like so much just chaos and trash and whatever, I never saw a fly. I never saw a mosquito. I never saw a mouse. It was that part. I mean, when he said it, I was like, oh, wow, you're right. That is really, they say that's one of the miracles of Mina. And they said it's always like that. So interesting.
Do we have any more final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, just do it if you can.
Definitely.
Yes.
All right.
I definitely echo that sentiment. Alhamdulillah.
So just a quick reminder, tune in Sunday, the next episode, June 25th at 7 p.m. will be Mansour Blackman and Hanifa Loom. And with that, we will thank everyone for their time. I really enjoyed hearing your guys' experience. I really enjoyed this. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for having us in.
And thank you to everyone watching for tuning in.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.